I'm so excited. All these people have come to hear and be part of our roundtable discussion, um,
Yes.
including half of our panelists that did not show up.
Yes. Oh,
But,
goodness.
you're there, so good job.
Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah.
I get to places, you know. Um, yeah, so it's a little bit unfortunate, but also, still a good experience. And I've been able to speak with people, right? And I got to watch um the documentary on the Mermaid Museum, which was
Spectacular.
fabulous.
Good,
Yeah.
good. That's
Mhm.
wonderful. What have
So
been some
getting
other
to see a little bit, yeah, different perspective, right?
wonderful, good. What have been some of the other highlights for you so far, or some of the identities that you've seen swimming by or walking past you in the hall?
Um, I think it's a lot of joy
Hmm.
in just everyone being together, right? So the community is definitely present, even if the numbers are small, that people are really connecting with each other. And I think that's part of the distraction, is wanting to like just talk to each other,
Hmm.
and in the same space, and share experiences. Everywhere I'm walking around, people aren't talking about everyday life, they're talking about their mer life, and their dreams and visions and experiences they have, and so that's been really fun to be
Cool.
talking to people, and um, yeah, a lot of joy walking around.
Well, that's wonderful. I think that's one of the things I love about the community is that um, at a core level, it's about manifesting one's reality. Um,
Hmm.
that in the trans world, people will often talk about dysphoria, but people don't often talk about euphoria. The
Hmm.
euphoric sense of being, the euphoric sense of body, spirit, soul, all being together and uniting. And I think that's something that starts happening in the Mer community. And I think that's part of maybe the joy that you're seeing is either a full integration of self or a partial
Hmm.
integration of self.
Yes, and being right, being seen and being accepted, the
Yep.
human need, and
Yep.
people are having that here together. But
Yep.
as you know, I'm not uh, deeply involved in the mer community yet. Who knows? But more with like the fur community and
Hmm.
land-based mammalians for the most part, but also mythical creatures and reptiles and so on, which has been my experience in the past. And there is, I think, that same euphoria of
Hmm.
being whole, and being
Yep.
able to be not only whole in one's whole body, but to have that reflected back.
Hmm. Very much so. One of the things I really love about the Pacific Northwest Mer community, and especially the one that Una is leading in Portland, is the inclusivity. And
Mhm.
so, in many parts of the world, the Mer community is very gender focused. It's very femme. It is very yoga body focused. It is basically about the Hollywood Star Factor version, the Madison Avenue version. And the Pacific Northwest, specifically Portland, is really very body inclusive. It is cognitive ability inclusive. It is a range of ways of being in the world. And then we all come together with
Mhm.
our more persona,
I love that,
or persona, rather.
right? Because
Yeah.
it shouldn't be about an image that you're trying to reach for that isn't you, right? It's about who you are, and all of you being perfect as you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's one of the things I really enjoyed in a workshop that you taught. I think it was back in April. Um, the the idea that if one is a mer, if one is a sea otter, if one is a selkie, that one doesn't have to be a specific type of anything, and
Mhm.
you can define that A mer might be a dragon mer. A mer might be femme. A mer might be more like a wolf. Uh, a mer might be 50,000 different things, or a selkie the same way, a sea otter the same way, an urchin, a clam, whatever your aquatic identity might be,
Mm.
doesn't have to conform to what anyone else considers it or needs it to be, because it's you, and it just simply
Yep,
can be you.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Um, in my other communities that I've been in, that is a huge part of why I enjoy being in all these different communities is because there is the creativity of the expression of self can be in so many different forms that the same species can be expressed in completely different ways, and every way is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Awesome. So, if I may ask, since we're talking about identity, would you like to talk about your own sense of self, your own identity, your own identity pathway over your lifetime?
Oh my goodness. I can
We
try.
can certainly talk about other things. I do happen to have 5 other discussion prompts.
Okay. Let's see what happens. I don't know. Because I think it is kind of, important. I'm like, who am I? Why am I talking about this thing? Um, that, I have had my own journey, though predominantly I see myself more as a, human of some kind for the most part. Um, any expressions of animals or sea creatures or whatever it may be is more spirit based and um, energy based rather than physically based. And so, like, there are parts of myself that I see as a horse or
Mhm,
um, sea turtle is one of those things. But in my own personal journey, I always felt like I was being told who to be, right?
mhm,
What, I'm this sex, I'm that gender, here's your name, you have to do these things. And it was a long time, I call myself a late bloomer, where I really started to experiment with other ideas. And the more I experimented, uh, the more I felt in alignment with myself. And that had more to do with, I always felt bi-gender, and I
mhm,
identify as non-binary now. And sometimes I'm like, oh, gender fluid or whatever, because I can switch back and forth. Um, but it was because I always felt like I was both male and female, masculine, feminine, all of those things were in myself. And I would sometimes forget that I was supposed to be a woman and like interject myself into male spaces, but wasn't always welcomed because I didn't have
mhm,
the right body for that. And
mhm,
um, and that was crushing sometimes in that I felt fully as if I belonged, but then
mhm,
was rejected. And that
mhm,
was difficult. Um, but it's been this constant coming back to like, I know who I am. And even if I'm rejected by groups of people or individuals that those aren't my people. And I will need to find other people. And there have been a lot of wonderful people in my life that have accepted me for my whole self, even if that whole self, can be different from day to day or year to year, because I feel like I'm always evolving and learning more about myself. Like even doing my um, DNA exploration of looking into my familial history, that has shifted a little bit of like my identity on some like um, meta level, maybe not internally, but exploring other aspects of myself. Like when I discovered that literally my ancestors were pirates, that I'm like, haha, that explains, you know. Now it makes so much sense.
And some
So
of
there are,
your ancestors might be there at the con today.
yes,
I think
I
that's
do love the sea. I do love the sea. Like I thought I would be an oceanographer back in from high school.
cool.
Then ended up not going down that path, but uh, I do feel very at home on the water.
Nice.
And maybe that's in my genes. I don't know.
I don't know. As you're talking about that, it makes me think of two things: the sense of acceptance, and so there are people who I'm close to who really truly do love me, and I feel embraced by them. But
Mhm,
I think part of their love for me is they don't need to pigeonhole me. They don't need to entirely figure me out. That they knew who I am as a whole, and they love me, they respect me, they trust me. And so
mhm,
um, they can hold me maybe as one would hold like a ball of fire or something of that sort, where it's being held gently, but it's not being
mhm,
squashed. It's not trying to be like forced into a pigeonhole of some sort. And I think that's maybe one of the commonalities of those people who are truly dear to me, is a
mhm,
love for me without a. They're okay being curious and not having to have all their questions answered at all times. And
mhm,
also knowing that some things might be not beyond their comprehension because they're very intelligent people, but that there's certain things that might be beyond their lived experience. And it is
mhm,
okay to love someone and embrace someone that has a different lived experience and different lived choices than they have. I think that's one of
mhm,
the beautiful things. But then the other thing that when you're talking is on uh, the part that makes me feel more sad is that sense of not being accepted
mhm,
and that often not being enough, not being queer enough, not being X enough, not being Y enough, not being whatever the thing enough. Um, and I'm not really sure who decided what what the norms of the abnormal are. I mean, if we're supposed to be alternative cultures, why is it alternative cultures so often conform to the ways of mainstream culture, and just reinvent them for new packaging, instead of truly embracing the otherness, truly embracing the unknown, truly embracing, just embracing the question mark and being
mhm.
curious. So, yeah.
It is really so true that a lot of the smaller communities, marginalized, however you want to talk about them, tend to police themselves, and maybe that's from learned trauma experiences of having not been treated well in the past. But it's hard for like if you don't fit right in the box. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's a lot of my own personal experiences. I don't fit any box exactly, like none of the
Mhm.
boxes. And so I never feel like I really belong to a community because I'm never fully accepted. Um,
Mhm.
and so there's that experience. And I want to go back to the first thing you said about the people that are closest to you are the ones that don't have to pigeonhole you, don't have to explain everything about you, that they love and accept you for who you are, regardless of all of the other things, right? That they love you, the person or the being, and all of the details don't matter. They don't have to have all of the answers explained. That it's just that central core of love. And what I kept thinking as you were speaking was like, wouldn't that be amazing if we had a world where we were all that way, right? That we didn't have to,
That was beautiful.
label people and define people and put them in boxes and make them stay in that group. And, you're in that group and like that doesn't apply to you. And why do we have to do that? What if we just redefined relationships to be like, I like you, who you are. And that's all that matters. I don't need to have all these other labels.
Right. Something I was thinking about a moment ago, uh, in the nature of those closest friendships of mine, is that they were slow to develop friendships. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we generally thought each other were neat from the get go, and we were like, oh, they do cool, fun things or whatever. But we didn't become best buddies right away. It was a slow process over literally decades. I
Mm-hmm.
often that I seduced one of my friends for 8 years before we actually became friends. Um, and I think on some level that's true because from we all come to each other from our own lived experience, our own way of being, and the the thing you were talking about a moment ago about the people being traumatized or things of that sort, people coming with lower capacity, is that yeah, we all do have challenges in our lives, and those those different aspects of life, um, they influence the way our openness in each moment. That some
Mm-hmm.
days we have more capacity, some days we have less. Days with more capacity, we have more curiosity. Days with less capacity, we have less curiosity. And so no one's life is rainbows and sprinkles all the time. Yet we all have challenges. And
Mm-hmm.
so uh, Rilke talks about this idea that the person you know is not the person that you just spoke to. The person that you know is the person that you spoke to the last 100 times you spoke. Because we are not, we're not, uh, we're not sound bites. We're full people. We're nuanced. We're complex. We have good moods. We have bad moods. We have good days. We have bad days. And to
Mm-hmm.
get to truly love each other and to know each other, we need to know each other when we're laid out sick and vomiting. We need to know each other when when we're climbing mountains. We need to know each other when we're gallivanting and dancing at the beach. We need to know all those different aspects of self, and how
Mm-hmm.
we interact with each other. And it's that slow process, that slow unfolding, um,
Mm-hmm.
which also I don't know. It might be a difficult thing because we seem to be programmed right now for immediacy. We want everything right away. We want
Mm-hmm.
our friends. We want to meet someone and be best buddies right away. We want to get the best job right away. We want to whatever the thing. It always wants to be right away, and
Mm-hmm.
everything just takes a lot longer than we're currently taught it's going to take.
Mm-hmm. I hear that, and I feel that. I'm a teacher by trade. I see this a lot more things. If I don't understand it right now, I'm never going to understand it. And that is the
Mhm.
profound experience of many young people right now. I'm like, no, this is called learning. It's a process. You don't automatically just know everything right off, and
Yep.
yes, you can Google it pretty for the most part. Um,
Mhm.
and you do have the capacity to learn. We have this amazing intelligent system in our body that we can uh, utilize and build, and this this whole creation of our experience, right? Like I also teach meditation and have meditated for decades and virtually my entire life, since I was born into a meditation community. But people say they can't meditate. I'm like, did you sit down? Did you just stop for some minutes? That's meditation. Like that's the very edge of it, you know. Um, this thinking that either you can or you can't. It's a yes or
Yep.
no binary. Um, rather than letting that expression happen, because one of the keys to meditation is that your brain is going to feel like it's on fire, because because as soon as you sit down, the brain is wanting to amplify all the thoughts. Oh, you're paying attention to me now. I'm going to have 10,000 thoughts right now. And that is the beginning of meditation. That that's that's the experience. that you have to wait through. You know, well, even getting to know ourselves and our own mind can be a process that we learn over decades, not just each other.
I guess I'm wondering, because I also love to meditate, and I will happily uh, uh, sit and say so down on my cushion. Um, but I'm also, even though it's a joy for me, I also recognize that there's a potential privilege in it. And that privilege for me, I'm not saying for all, privilege for me is that uh, I can choose to carve out the time for the meditation. I have the capacity, I have the food, clothing, and shelter that I can take 5 minutes or 5 hours out of my day and I can meditate. And I think that's one of the challenging things. And that's potentially how the community, the Mer community, is so helpful, is to be able to build capacity. Um, I mean, food, clothing, shelter, no promises there. But there are people there that will be loving and can keep caring for each other. There are people who will buy each other's crafts projects, that will buy each other's artwork, that will patron each other, that will go to each other performances.
Mm.
Um, and that can help with the capacity. So the selling of one's candles, or selling of a painting, or the selling of a ticket to their burlesque show, that's going to trickle down. That's going to help with groceries, and that's going to
Mhm.
potentially help with capacity, which will then help someone to be able to sit on that cushion and to be able to meditate. Um, and so, yeah, I think there's a cycle to it, um, that there's a lot of potential. I think with the Mer community,
Mhm.
um, because there are a lot of people in the Mer community that are othered in many ways,
Mhm.
and uh, that the joy that you are seeing, that joy is coming from um, that sense of togetherness, that sense of capacity building, the momentary forgetting about food, clothing, and shelter, because
Mhm.
one's feeling loved and accepted right now. Um, and the suspension of disbelief, that suspension of food, clothing, shelter worries, that also is all you kind of need to sit to get down on your cushion.
Mhm.
Um, so I know that Bria was talking earlier today about yoga, and so
Mhm.
yoga is definitely part of the community. Um, and meditation potentially could be part of the community as well.
Mhm. I think we all can benefit from meditation. But it goes with yoga, absolutely. That being present to your body, right? That's a huge part of yoga. And this part, back to our identities, right, is that being present to our body is facilitated by the breath. And
Hmm.
that being even more present to the body is comes through the breath. Right? Well, that's the thing. It's like being here is a little bit like being a kid in a candy shop, right? There's like all these things to do, and there's a lot of fantastic vendors with these amazing things to offer. The person who was just presenting before me in this room has some fabulous art that they've done, just really beautiful. There's the pool, there's all the speakers, there's treats, there's a throne. I sent you a picture of the throne.
I
It's
did. I appreciate the photo of the
definitely
throne. I hope you're going to do some photo ops on there.
it's Mer Disneyland, you know?
Una puts on a good show. She definitely
Yes,
puts on a good event. So yeah, cool.
that's great. Yeah.
Well, are there more aspects of identity that you would like to talk about?
Let's see. Um, there are so many thoughts as I was preparing, for this um, panel discussion, community discussion, that, for me, it was really helpful to go through that process again. I'm not sure how much is like really helpful to anybody else, but for myself, um, and I would suggest that anyone would sit down and think about their identity, even though we do that periodically, you know, to reevaluate from different eyes, because we grow and we mature and we change as we evolve, that how we see our identity or how we want to express our identity can shift, you know.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yep.
Not only the DNA exploration, but thinking about past lives and, you know, all the different variances of like what it takes to be who I am, like my astrology or whatever other tools that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I've applied to myself, that those are different like aspects of a diamond of like who I am as a person, who I see myself to be in
Mm-hmm.
this um, vessel, as it were, with this internal expression and soul that I have that um, is having experience, you know, this life experience. That's why we're here. Let's find the joy and be joyful in all different aspects of who we are.
Cool. I agree. I definitely do.
I think that's why we get along, right? Really? Yeah.
Cool.
Anything else you think we need to like tie this up with?
Hmm. Um, well, I think just to really stress the importance of community, especially in a time when the things on a national or a global level are so very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Can't control the world, but we can define our own pod. And so our mermaid pod, those people, the individuals, the creatures that we bring together within our safe space, within our pod, within our bubble of magic,
Mm-hmm.
that really can be a beautiful thing. And together we can weather the storm. That is also one of the beautiful things about sea life is that uh, storms on certain levels are surface manifestations.
Mm-hmm.
They're about the wind and the land and the things that are happening up there and all the swirling currents. Um, but below the surface of the water, as an aquatic community, we can find quiet, we can find solace, we can find that peace we need to feel as safe as possible. Um, and I hope that people are doing that today. I hope that people are able to do that in the days, weeks, and years ahead. Uh, I'm a very optimistic person, but I do believe that we need to create our own pods. We need to welcome people into our pods that help us feel safe and that we can then help feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that.